So by now, 80 million Americans should have received their stimulus money from the CARES Act. If you haven't received yours yet, I'll put some information below, some links below, you can check those out. If you are a single person making $75,000 or less, you qualify for $1,200 of this CARES Act money. If you're married filing jointly, you qualify for up to $2,400. In Brittany's in my case. This is not gonna be a video about like what to do if you haven't received your money yet or like all the ins and outs of the program, but there are some links down there, check those out. There are also plenty of other YouTube videos about that. This video is gonna be more about how to win with that money, how to get the most out of it, and basically what Brittany and I are doing with our stimulus money. We just received our check deposit, if you will, a few days ago, $2,400. So with that being said, let's get into it. What's up guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Brit.
And what do you guys think about my shirt right here? I wear this shirt periodically. I really feel like I'm in my element, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh no.
Okay, so all joking aside, I know a lot of people are in some pretty hard positions right now, trying to lighten the mood a little bit. That being said, Brittany and I are not professional financial advisors. This is not professional financial advice. Take this as just entertainment from some random couple on YouTube talking about money. So this video is meant to be very, very much general because everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. So with that being said, you guys, this video is going to be divided into steps. Now the first couple steps are going to be for those people who are in much more serious financial situations, and then the steps following those are going to be for people who may have a little bit more freedom with their money. Everything that Brittany and I are talking about in this video, we've done ourselves. And if you haven't been following the channel, Brittany and I were $120,000 in debt when we first got married. We were dead broke and barely making any money. Our total debt payments from student loans and car loans and things like that came dangerously close to our total monthly income. It was not good. So everything that we're talking about in this video is through the lens of what Brittany and I went through during that time period to get ourselves into a much better place financially, and what eventually led to the pretty peaceful place that we're in right now regarding money, even with everything going on. All right, so the very first thing that Brittany and I would do if we were in a pretty bad spot with everything going on, the very first thing we would do with this stimulus money is make sure all of our needs are met. So that means food, water, utilities, shelter, clothing, transportation such as gasoline. We would make sure all of those things are covered for us for at least a couple weeks into the future, or maybe even longer than that, depending on how long we foresee, things getting back to normal in our lives.
Also would be what state you're in, because I know a lot of states have been hit harder than others. So just kind of keep that in mind, like what Mike was saying. If you foresee it's going to be longer, then you may want to plan further out with that money to meet those basic needs.
One note about food, what I'm not suggesting is going out to the grocery store and buying like 2 months worth of food. Would maybe be a good alternative is just to make sure you have some money from this check set aside for food, for the next couple weeks or a month or so. All right, next, step 2, if you will, after your immediate needs are taken care of, you've made sure that your immediate needs are taken care of, is either start creating an emergency fund or finish your emergency fund or continue funding your emergency fund. So an emergency fund is meant to put a buffer between you and life, bad things that can happen. So, what's going on right now is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
And a very good example of why emergency funds are super important. Most emergency funds are 3 to 6 months of expenses. In Brittany's and my case, our emergency fund is 6 months of expenses. So if you're not a very good saver or if your spending habits aren't the best, this opportunity is a very good one for you to start becoming better at spending, becoming better at saving. And you could definitely use this money just to put aside in between yourself and life.
And this is only after all your basic needs are met.
So if you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, he recommends a starter emergency fund of $1,000, especially if you're paying off debt. And then after you've paid off all your debt, he recommends fully funding your emergency fund up to 3 to 6 months of expenses. Obviously, if you're one person and only receiving $1,200 and don't have much or any emergency fund, this will only get you up to that, basic starter emergency fund threshold. It definitely won't cover 3 to 6 months of expenses. But that's okay because any extra amount of money that you can put between you and Murphy's Law as a buffer is a good thing. If you're in a situation where you've been laid off or your job security is kind of up in the air, the best thing to do with this check after making sure that your immediate needs are covered is probably just to save the rest of it and put it away in the emergency fund, regardless of whether you're single or married filing jointly. In Brittany's and my case, when we were becoming debt-free and going through Dave Ramsey's program, we had, I think, 2 months of expenses as our starter emergency fund rather than the $1,000 that he suggests. We just felt that was better for our particular situation.
When he says that, to have $1,000 as your starter emergency fund, he's thinking you're going to work every day, you're having a steady income and a steady paycheck month to month. Now, a lot of people, this has changed, so that's why we would recommend saving a lot more right now.
So based on many statistics out there, the stimulus money that everybody's getting paid, I think will cover the vast majority of people with those first two steps, making sure your immediate needs are covered, and then funding your emergency fund or finish funding it. Most people's stimulus money is going to run out after that, and that's totally fine. For those of you who already have your immediate needs taken care of, you're good with food, shelter, water, clothing, etc. You have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, like in Brittany's in my case.
And your job hasn't really been affected by what's been going on, so you're having a steady income. Then we'd recommend these next few steps.
Yeah, okay, so step number 3 would be to look at maybe starting to pay down some smaller debts, consumer debts. So things like credit card statements, back payments for whatever you may owe money on. Also, be wise about loan deferment programs. Loan deferment programs don't get rid of your loan. It only pushes payments back forward into the future some. So you're still going to owe the money. It's just going to be pushed forward. You're not really getting rid of anything. And depending on the program, you may still be accumulating interest, which means you'll end up owing more over time if you deferred rather than just paying it now if you can. But again, take advantage of them if you need to. You may also want to look into paying down your mortgage a little bit with this money. Any other discretionary spending, things that you've been holding off on purchasing or may have wanted to be purchasing for a while. If things in your life are good and you've just gotten a check for $1,200 or $2,400 if you're married, and you've been wanting to buy something for a while that's around that price, it's free money, why not? Okay, step 4 or 5, I don't remember what number we're on now, is look into investing. There are a lot of stocks that are on pretty good discount right now that you can buy for pretty good discount. I'm not going to talk too much about investing because I literally just made a video about it. I will link it up here if you're interested in watching. It's basically Brittany's and my plan for investing. One caveat, or one thing I do want to mention about investing is don't put any money into the stock market that you're going to want to spend for the next few years. Brittany's and my mindset with investing is it's going to be for the long term. We're putting money into the stock market that we're not going to really need for a while, 3, 4, 5, 10 years or whatever.
And the last step we wanted to talk about, if your needs are met, you don't need to save any more money, you're good on investing, everything's really good, you can use that money to give back to those in need. So if you know some local businesses that are struggling, you could use some of that there. If you have a neighbor or a friend who is struggling, you could help them out. So that's something after your needs are met and you are financially secure, you can start to give. Emphasis
on making sure you're set first, because if you're not set, you're gonna have a very hard time helping other people out. Okay, so with all that being said, what are Brittany and I doing with our $2,400? Well, it's very simple and it's not gonna take much time to explain. We're gonna be probably putting aside $1,000 or so to invest in a proper YouTube studio, because as of right now, we're just kind of sitting on the floor, if you guys can see. I've made one video in the spare bedroom that the YouTube studio will be set up in, but it's very barren. It was not very interesting to look at, in my opinion. Hopefully you guys liked it if you saw it. So $1,000 to help furnish and set up a YouTube studio.
And that's just another way to reinvest in ourselves, because this is something we want to be doing full-time and more into the future.
And the second thing we're gonna be doing is investing the rest into the stock market. Shout out to that investment video if you want to watch it again. That being said, we hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you are interested in investing, my Robinhood link is below in the description. If you sign up using that link, you get a free stock, I get a free stock, and it just helps out everybody. Also, Brit and I created a new Instagram page if you're interested in following us.
Yeah.
I think we have one post up there, not very much, but it's a work in progress. So if you're interested in following us there, go ahead and give us a follow there.
And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more.
All right, thanks guys. See you in the next one.
Bye.
So with that being said, this video is kind of going. So again, Brittany kind of.
Maybe that'll help.